Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Games, the podcast episode. I'm Dennis, and I'm here with
Joey. How you doing?
And
it's your boy Dorian here. What's up?
Yeah, and this week is special because it's a Spider-Man week.
It is Spider-Man week.
We've been talking about Spider-Man all on Collider Games, the channel. We even had some crossover stuff with Collider Heroes on Collider's main channel. The embargo finally lifted. You guys did a discussion review. Obviously, we're going to talk about some other topics as well, but people are interested in Spider-Man. I'm interested in Spider-Man. I haven't played it yet like you guys have. You guys have both completed the game, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, totally, completely. Okay, so just general overall thoughts. How is the game?
The game goes in a different direction than most video games for me, and that's my biggest takeaway. Like first off, I'm just impressed by, exploring a different kind of story in video gaming. Like this felt more like a movie story. This felt like more like what you'd get out of a script, rather than certain action set pieces and things like that. Like we did a live stream today.
We did.
We were talking about it
for about 2 hours.
There were some scenes in that first 2 hours that were just two people having a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm excited to watch this because it's part of the story. And right off the bat, just from that standpoint, it is impressive. It is an achievement. It is something that I'm excited to see in the industry. And then on top of that, it's a good game. It all comes together for me.
Well, in that regard, I was just reading an article today that this Spider-Man game is the first video game to get Marvel's kind of seal of approval.
Oh, yeah.
They allowed them to use the Marvel flip book, if you might say, the intro that they put in front of all the MCU movies. So it's kind of like, this isn't canon, and this isn't part of the MCU universe, but it's of quality enough to recognize it as part of, I don't know, just almost like being, instead of just licensing out material.
They're proud enough of it that they'll share it on their social media accounts and stuff like that.
Right.
They won't just like the X-Men and stuff like that, but they actually love this project.
Yeah, as far as AAA Marvel titles that have come out since Disney acquired Marvel, there haven't been all that many. There was there was a couple other Spider-Man games that didn't get that seal of approval, like you're saying.
But any Marvel game, I mean, whether it's X-Men or whatever else they have.
Yeah, nothing else that would have even come close.
There's a lot of mobile games. There's a lot of multi Marvel character type of mobile games.
Mm-hmm. Dorian, I gotta ask one thing though, because this is what is going around about the Spider-Man game. This is what everyone wants to know. Puddlegate.
Oh, I thought you were about to say his Aunt May's still fine.
Aunt May is fine. We established that.
Oh man, I'm so mad about that whole
the Puddlegate.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of nothing.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of nonsense.
Not it didn't register. I didn't even know about any of that until after I finished playing. I was like, what is? Why are we complaining about something like this? That's like IGN's review of Pokemon. It was too much water.
Too much water.
Yeah.
So this one was not enough water because the E3 version had a lot of water. And reflections and whatnot.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was more about to me, it's more about the reflections and the fact that you had multi-light source shading on Spider-Man in that shot, and then in the game you didn't. But that made him easier to see and easier to pick out when you were playing, and it's easier to figure out where you were in combat and things like that. So.
Yeah, so for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, there was a bit of quote unquote controversy, because it wasn't real controversy, that people were stirring up, saying that the version that they showed at E3 was not the full version, and they had to downgrade the graphics for the release version because they saw a picture of a certain scene in a warehouse that had some puddles on the concrete, and there was kind of reflections from the light, and it was more pronounced in that version. And then when they saw the version in the final one, they said, the graphics are downgraded. So people are saying that they used some sort of upgraded, more powerful version.
Well, and we can assume that whatever they made for E3 was captured on a PS4 dev unit, which I'm assuming the dev units for console-specific games are not that different. But for any other game, your dev unit can be a top grade PC essentially, and then it's just telling you what the specifications are for a console and seeing whether you're meeting or exceeding those. So they could easily have been, upping the quality of everything for a teaser trailer. Like that's not inconceivable. That's something that every game is going to do.
And once you start playing,
I get that it would be less likely with a console exclusive, but it doesn't spoil the game in any way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Is like once you even just start playing, that goes out of your mind completely. It's just like you're in the game. It's so beautiful. The storyline itself is just amazing. So once you're actually playing the game, the graphics, none of that.
I played it for a few minutes at E3. When I had the chance, a good 10-15 minutes of it. And graphics are not an issue whatsoever. So I don't know what the big deal is. They even show like comparisons of the PS4 version and the PS4 Pro version. And sure, the PS4 Pro version looks a little bit better, but I mean, it's not even that noticeable.
You know what I'm starting to pick up on that I think might be like one of the reasons I'm so impressed by this game is with Uncharted, with Last of Us, with God of War. They're cinematic. They're amazing. They've got great stories. I think they would be lesser games if they weren't as pretty. That's not the bulk of what makes them good games, but it contributes. And while Spider-Man is pretty, I don't know if it would be a lesser game if it didn't look that good.
No,
I feel like what makes it a good game is not the graphics, it's the gameplay. And
let's talk about that because I have questions. I played it, so I got to swing around as Spider-Man. I got into the combat system, and you guys have sunk many more hours into it. Does it feel repetitive at all, or because there's a lot of things for you to do, does it just make everything just more exciting and more motivated to play?
If you don't force yourself to change your style up, it can get repetitive. Because essentially, like when you start, you don't have like all the web upgrades and things like that. So you start just like punching and doing takedowns that way. And if you kind of don't realize that you're starting to get web upgrades and you don't mix that in, then it can get repetitive. And that's like a weird subconscious thing. Like you're used to fighting a certain way, and it'll feel repetitive if you don't actively try and make it a little more compelling, but then second you do that, you realize that that's more fun.
What challenging,
using the webs and
because when we did the live stream today for about 2 hours, and I was so used to already from when I played, my Spider-Man's level like 40 something, so I have more combos, more stuff like that. So when I had to go back to this way, just like basically pressing squares, not as fun. It's just more like I'm used to like more controls and trying to find different ways to maneuver and dodge the enemies and stuff like that, and take them down in more creative ways.
Yeah, so you kind of got to grow with the game, but
yeah, besides like the repetitive, besides the combat, like I think when you're playing the full storyline, like nothing too repetitive, but the challenges like the bird, like stuff like that, can get it can get a little bit repetitive when you're trying to like complete a whole because I think it's like 75% is a story.
I think I finished story around about 65%.
Yeah, and then the rest is just like doing the challenges, because it's kind of like Arkham Knight where there's a whole bunch of different side missions and stuff like that you can complete. So the most repetitive thing I would say is like chasing down the birds. There
aren't a ton of there's not a ton of variation within the crimes. There's probably like 20 different kinds altogether. But then if you have to stop like for full completion for 100%, you have to stop 25 in every district. So
how many bad guys does New York have?
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Why do people live there?
So apparently in the game, there's just crime run amok like every second.
Yeah. Well, seriously, I mean, there's some story reasons for it.
Okay.
But
yes. It's like there'll be a mission on the far side of town and you're swinging to it, but then there'll be red pop-up here. Like you're like, oh wait, and you don't have to go get it, but you want to because you feel like more.
What happens if you don't?
It'll just fade away. It'll be like
nothing happens because like in Fallout, if you don't, something will pop up and say, hey, this one settlement's being attacked. if you don't go there within a certain amount of time, they're like, okay, they've been defeated or something like that.
Yeah, they got taken over.
It'll be like it depends what it is, but most of the time it'll just fade away. Nothing like you won't get penalized or anything. But you
those people are still struggling after that car crash.
Yeah, but you still
they're still there, Spider-Man.
When you see them
2 weeks later,
when you see them like on the map and you're like trying to go to a mission, you're like, do I want to? You feel obligated to go stop the bad guys because it's like even though the characters are fake, you're like you're Spider-Man. You can't not let somebody not get saved. So you try to do all of that.
So like you mentioned Arkham Knight, and obviously the biggest comparison for this game people have is the Arkham series with the Batman and Batman. He swings around but not the same way that Spider-Man does because he can't kind of crawl up buildings, you know.
I mean, you got the grapple gun and the rappel and things like that, so you get similar, especially when you're going in and out of stealth combat, like going from stealth combat to like regular combat and things like that. There's some similarities there.
But how did you guys feel in comparison to that game? What does this bring? Because I know the combat system is similar. And
we talked about it earlier. I think I like the combat on here a lot more, especially with the use of the spider senses. It didn't feel as like with hold on. Lose my train of thought. So like with the camera movement and everything with the combat, like with Arkham Knight, you couldn't necessarily like turn all the way around when you're fighting like somebody, especially if that character, let's say, is not like kind of far away from you. Like you can turn around, swing to them, like take them down, and go back and like fight a bunch of other people at the same time. And I guess you can kind of do that in Arkham Knight, but I just think they handled it a lot better with Spider-Man's powers and the camera usage of how to like change and fight somebody who's like completely 180 of you or something like that.
I think there's something to be said for the fact that Batman requires a dark aesthetic, and as much as that looks really good, that does make certain things about the gameplay just a tad bit harder, even if you don't notice it, like subconsciously. Having a bright, like, built like rooftop where you're fighting people like dressed in black suits and things like that, like it actually makes it a lot easier to like pinpoint things. But you think back to the Arkham Asylum Rocksteady combat system. One of the things that they implemented, apart from like swinging from gargoyle to gargoyle, which is like swinging Spider-Man style, is the like sense, the danger sense that he has, which is literally Spider-Man's Spidey sense. And I think back then we were all like, this is a Spider-Man game skinned as Batman, and it's an amazing Batman game. But God, wouldn't it be an amazing Spider-Man game?
And then we got it.
And I think they both have the takedown, like let's say on Arkham Knight or something, when you do punch the last guy, and that whenever you're fighting somebody, it'll be like the slow-mo, with the sound effect. Spider-Man does it as well.
It's very similar, and honestly, there are other games that have done this, but Arkham Asylum was the first time it was applied to Batman, and it made a lot of mainstream people take notice. And then this is the same thing being applied to Spider-Man. So the comparison makes sense.
Yeah, and it works well though. I'm not like I love the combat. So
And honestly, I think at the time, when Arkham Asylum came out, we were like, oh, can this be applied to other superheroes? Like, what if we got a Superman game like this?
That's been the rumor.
Rocksteady's been talking about a Superman game in that engine for a long time. And if anyone's getting mad about this being applied to Spider-Man, it's like we were asking for that. Like before this Spider-Man game was announced, people were asking for, why don't you just do this, but with, I guess they were asking Rocksteady to do it.
Yeah.
But, I'm kind of fine that we're getting it. I want a Daredevil game like this. I think that's...
You also said earlier on the Twitch, you said, and I was saying the same thing about a Static Shock. A Static Shock open world game.
I just want that in general.
Yeah, I want... He's coming back on Young Justice, so we'll see him there. But yeah, I want a Static Shock game. I'll voice the character. I don't mind. I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned the story is one of the greatest pulls into this, and you said it's very cinematic, makes it feel like a Spider-Man movie. So the game length, we talked about that last week. They said, what was 20 to 25 hours?
Yeah.
For how much of that is that main storyline? So take out the challenges and all the side quests or whatever. What portion of that is the main story?
I want to say
15.
Yeah, like 15 or 16.
Okay.
For me, 15 or 16 about that time. Like just because because Joey was collecting all the stuff, but I just was powering through this main story. So I'd say about 15, 16 hours
16.
Around that.
Cool.
But I do want to say though, whoever was the writing team for this game, they need to be involved in the Sony universe.
Okay.
Whatever they're doing in Sony universe, they need to bring the writers from this game in because they captured what Spider-Man is, his universe, the world around him, and they captured Miles perfectly. MJ, Aunt May still fine.
Well, they spent so many years on it. That's the
True.
thing. Like they spent like 4 or 5 years working on this game. Yuri, when we spoke to him, he said he had been keeping this secret for nearly 3 years.
Damn.
And like there are plenty of projects that I know that he's a voice on that all of a sudden he didn't have as big of a part, and I was like, oh, that sucks. He's not as big of a part. Like they're not using his voice as much. It's probably because he was busy recording Spider-Man.
Yeah, so there must be a ton of dialogue for this thing.
Oh yeah.
See, this makes me more excited to play it because look, I had fun playing the game on the demo, and I'm sure the combat's great and the swinging around I had a blast doing. But what's going to motivate me to play something for 15, 20, 30 hours is going to be the story and the engagement of advancing that,
and
right?
I think the fact that the story is good, I think that actually cuts down on the replayability.
Okay.
Because, they're not pulling you in with gameplay. They're not pulling you in with, with stuff that they can repeat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't repeat the shock of the third act. You can still play through it again and it'll be fun, and I'll play a New Game Plus for sure. But I think that's one of the reasons that DLC is coming so soon after the game.
Which I think the teaser trailer came out recently with showing
For the
off Black
heist.
Cat.
Yeah.
Showing Black Cat. Boss battles. No spoilers, but like, is there enough boss battles and are they good?
So we've seen in trailers 5 of the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
And it stands to reason that there'll be a 6th one.
The 6th one is Aunt May.
The 6th I thought you were going to say Ant-Man. For some reason,
Aunt May.
I was about to hear that, and I'm like, yep, it's Ant-Man, everybody. So the 6th, there's at least 6 boss battles.
Okay. But are they good? Are they fun, diverse enough? Not all the bosses fight the same?
Not all the bosses fight the same. If you break it down to its core mechanics and you just like... You close your eyes and you just think of button presses. It's a little of the same.
I mean, I was playing Shock. I was trying to defeat Shock. I lost many times when I played the demo. So I'm hoping that each boss provides a different challenge.
Yeah, and the way the story is set up, I don't even want to talk about it because it's getting to spoiler territories. But yeah, there's enough boss battles.
Yeah.
I think it could have been a little bit more challenging on that end, but I guess that's because I think I was on easy. But when I'm playing on hard now with the new my new story mode, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I think they're not repetitive necessarily, but they're familiar enough that you understand the mechanics of how to beat this boss pretty quickly. It's not a thing of like what do I need to hit this guy with? It's pretty constant in, like either you're going to need to take down a boss this way, which is going to be like, webbing them up and hitting them when they're webbed, or it's going to be like using a certain environment thing and hitting them with that, and then coming in to strikes and blows.
But I think that goes into how good the storyline was, that you don't even necessarily need to... The big boss battles aren't even the main, like the most exciting part of the whole thing. It's like the third act... Probably my favorite part, but like the way they built up to that, the story itself, the way they got to the third act, I think was better than just the boss battles. Like the story itself really moved it along, and then once the big battle happens, you're like, damn, you walk out with a, maybe not a smile, but with completion, like, damn, like I just witnessed a masterpiece in the works, and I was the one doing it.
Nice. Yeah. And, last thing about the Spider-Man game. So for the story mode, though, there's no branching, right, of storyline. Okay, it's straightforward. Everyone gets the same story. Okay.
Yeah, everyone gets the same story. Okay. There's no choices. It's all on Peter Parker's shoulders.
Okay.
And it's not like, you can't make Peter a worse person.
Okay.
Which is what I like about it.
Yeah, I think yeah, Marvel would probably have something to say about that. If you,
yeah. Well, there was a game, Web of Shadows, a while back.
Is it smoking crack in the corner or something?
Yeah. Well, no, it was a game, dealing with the symbiote suit. And so it was like you have the good ending or the bad ending kind of thing. Like if you really succumb to the symbiote suit, you can have a version of the game where it's just the ending is you and Black Cat making out as New York City burns under like symbiote control.
Okay.
Also, my boy Miles, he's not a spoiler. He is in the game. They do
I've
him
seen
justice.
tons of pictures. Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do with his story arc.
Nice. Maybe that'll be the sequel.
I saw someone.
It better be.
I saw someone post the cinematic. I won't talk about it too much, but I saw someone post the cinematic of when Miles and Spider-Man meet. And they just like the conversation that they have and all that. Like that's so good.
Like they really like we said it again. The story, the characters, all the characters that you're introduced to at the beginning, they do have a story arc. Like by the end of the game, they have not changed completely, but they are different people than who they were. Like it's ridiculous how well they told the story.
Okay. So which one of you bringing your PS4 in here so I can play it?
It's here.
Mine's in my backpack.
Joey pitched that we need to be playing a video game while we do the Collider Games podcast anyway. So
yeah.
Nice.
In the future.
All right, let's move on from Spider-Man. We have plenty more of Spider-Man content that's already on the channel and will be on the channel.
Yeah, I've got like a half dozen videos that are scheduled between now and the 14th.
Yeah.
And we'll start to get into spoiler stuff eventually. Like probably next week, we'll start posting heavily tagged, heavily gated spoiler stuff. But if you want to know, it'll be here.
Okay. And whenever you do finish, whenever you do finish, there are post-credit scenes, so don't just leave out. It's like a Marvel game. It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's a Marvel movie.
That's what gets me excited to play this, so that I can enjoy the cinematic story of this. All right, let's move on to the next story. Henry Cavill is going to lead Netflix's The Witcher saga. He will play Geralt. Is that how you pronounce it? Geralt. And it's going to be showrun by Lauren Schmidt-Heisreich, who wrote episodes of Daredevil and The Defenders. It's going to be 8 episodes long. This is interesting because he had mentioned that he had wanted to do this, and he must have been in negotiations, or maybe he already knew he was.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he is Superman. He's most known for. I mean, that's the thing.
I don't know. We haven't seen him. DC's been ignoring him after that Justice League fiasco with the mustache. They were like, "All right, we gotta get rid of this kid."
Right. Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Superman shows up with a white beard and the long white hair?
I mean, it'd be better than that CGI.
And like the scar across his eye. I'm like, sorry, we gave him a real scar.
That'd actually be pretty dope.
Yeah. But it's interesting because he's a guy who's playing one of the biggest comic book characters ever on the big screen, and he's asking to be in a Netflix series.
That's the thing. He's a movie star, and he's coming down to TV.
I think it's funny, especially coming right after his big show performance in Mission Impossible. Yeah. So it's like you would think he would go to something bigger in the movie sphere, but I think this is a good move though, because I think the director or the showrunner or whatever, when they were first having the meetings, he said Henry Cavill was like really passionate about it. He said he knew from
and understands the character.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. So I'm glad if he's passionate about the role, like he's going to give it his all. And I think this will be like the first time we get to. Maybe it can break the video game curse of like bringing a live adaptation.
Or maybe television series work better for video games.
Expand it out a little bit more.
Honestly, that might be a good way to look at it, because you think of what Netflix did for Daredevil and Marvel and things like that, and being able to get a gritty version of superheroes. I mean, maybe not for the first time, but sustainably for a while there, and. To do that for video games might be pretty cool. Now that I'm thinking about it, thinking into his character from Mission Impossible Fallout, like even his fight style in that is kind of what Geralt is like when he's fisticuffs, when he doesn't pull out a sword.
Nice. I like that it's 8 episodes. That means, one, they can focus on a story, because one of the biggest complaints of even the best Marvel Netflix series is that they stretch out
too long.
Like Daredevil season 2 is one of my favorite ones, But really what they did to cheat that is they had one storyline for 6 episodes and another storyline for 6 episodes.
Or Elektra. Then,
Daredevil and Punisher. So 8 episodes, I think that's good. And then also financially for the budget, they can put more into each episode versus stretching it out across 12, 13 episodes. They put it all into 8 episodes.
It's like Game of Thrones. Like each season, like maybe 7 or 8 episodes, but shit ton of money's going into each of those episodes to make it feel
it's gonna be a little more like Game of Thrones than I think anyone realizes, because if people don't know the series, Geralt gets down. You know, Geralt's got a couple of women that he entertains pretty regularly, and as much as I'm excited for this like casting notification, I'm excited to see how the rest is cast, because ultimately Geralt is he's not a super nuanced character. I mean, at least as far as I've experienced, and I think I like that about the gameplay, is because like you get to role play it a little bit. You don't need a super fleshed out character for that. Either they're going to flesh him out a little bit more and put a little more nuance in him. He's got more than I gave credit for before. Because I've been playing through Wild Hunt a little bit more.
You were only 10 hours in at that time or something like that?
Yeah, I'm about 17, 18 hours in, and I'm still like, the story's not done. But I want to know who is cast as Triss. I want to know who's cast as Yennefer. I want to know who's cast as Ciri. I mean, they're all going to be. Hopefully, they're all in there. Hopefully, it's not a story of Rivia before then. And I'm interested to see it. I think that'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, I hope it does well, because it's like I said, because we have the Halo live action adaptation coming too. So Showtime, like hopefully this proves like, hey, maybe we don't do video game movies like to try to fit all the storyline into a movie. Let's try to like do a series, 6 or 7 episodes. Maybe that's how you tell a story better.
Cool. Halo is one where I would want to see original characters. Witcher is one where you want to see the characters that you know.
All
right. On the side note, we won't talk about this long. There's been a rumor that Blizzard is working with Netflix to make a Diablo series. I think in the vein of more like Castlevania, where it'd be animated. So an animated series, because they had success with the Castlevania stuff. I never really got into Diablo because it's a dungeon crawler. I'm just not a dungeon crawler type of player. This is something where maybe I hear on the development side of who they're bringing in and in terms of the writing talents and the casting and that, and then wait to see if people are saying it's good. Are you guys excited at all about this? Or did you guys play Diablo?
I didn't.
Diablo?
I've played Diablo a bit. I think it's interesting, just on the basis that Blizzard has such strong lore in all their games, and if we're getting Blizzard talking to studios about making their IPs into TV shows and stuff like that, we're one step closer to getting that like Pixar animated Overwatch.
We pitched them a whole idea. Yeah, they're going to take that. Like,
I know we're getting the little like installations, but make it a full series.
Yeah, I mean they had Warcraft, which came out, which wasn't a big success here, but I think overseas it did well. StarCraft to me is my favorite of the Blizzard franchises. That one, I assume, is probably very costly, much like Halo. It's going to cost a lot of money to
Diablo's got some lore, but it's also got some craziness, like the cow worlds and things like that. But I mean, all the World of Warcraft or all the Blizzard properties have their lighthearted side. So, and that's not going to be what happens in the series. It's going to be the headier side of it. I think a Diablo series could be pretty cool. I think it's going to be a bit of a test for their other properties. But I think that could be a fun one.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is probably, aside from Spider-Man, obviously, which was the biggest thing of the week, which Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, the trailer for Blackout, which is their battle royale mode. The trailer came out. They showed off the map, which is humongous, and then they mentioned 80 players will be supported in the beta, and they also said that they're not sure if they're going to hit the 60 FPS in Blackout mode. They're going to try, but it may be something where the frame rate will vary. It won't be like a solid 30, but maybe it'll jump around between, 40, 30, 50,
I mean, I get it, but...
Because they're known for 60 frames per second.
Right. Dorian, you definitely play Fortnite more than I do. Mm-hmm. You play Battle Royale more than I do. How do you feel about this?
When I was watching the trailer, I was like, this is Fortnite on a extreme level. Like, it blew my mind. I'm so excited about this because I'm already a big Call of Duty fan. I've jumped back into it. I realized I'm not the best. I'm not as good as I thought I was. Same with Overwatch. But once I started playing this new beta version, I was just excited about it. So now that we finally get to see what the Battle Royale mode looks like, it looks incredible. I'm so you saw zombies in there, the vehicles, the terrain, all of that. It looks amazing. So I'm excited to play this beta and see how it turns out.
That was one of the cool things, seeing the zombies, dropping the monkey bomb and calling zombies in. The thing that I'm noticing here is I think we might have a mode bigger than squad mode, but smaller than 50v50. You might have a 6-person team or a 10-person team or something like that. They might have different modes because there's so many vehicles and things like that.
I'm so excited about seeing them vehicles shooting each other. I was
when they're in the water, when they're in the water and they cross each other.
But you need to have a certain level of co-op to that.
True.
You can't just be a solo player. I don't think this is going to be good for 1 versus 99 battle royale. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to work for that. And plus, it's too fast paced for that anyway. You get into interactions and you're gonna drop dead because there's more one hit kill stuff in Call of Duty and in Black Ops 4 specifically than there is in Fortnite.
And I like how they you saw that they were able to use the new people that they've introduced in the team player game, the grapple, the shield person, all that.
But you've also got some of the older zombies characters, the new zombies characters like Scarlet and Diego, and so all the new specialists.
I'm so excited! I can't wait. Hopefully my PS4 doesn't crash on me again.
I will say the map is brighter than I expected. Looking at that trailer, that it's broad daylight, open everywhere. Every other map for Call of Duty for the multiplayer has been a little more enclosed, a little less open.
They wanted to rope in the Fortnite fans.
But I guess you're showing off the open air parts because that's what's different about the map, and you're probably going to have some closed off stuff because they showed the construction site.
That when it was going up each level, bro. I'm so excited about this game.
This is the thing. That looks way more populated than it's actually going to be because the map is the size of the Fortnite map, and it's only going to be 80 people in the beta. Is it going to be 100 in the actual release of the game?
They didn't say. They just said they're just going to support 80 in the beta, and then they'll see from there. They did mention that, not them, but other sites have been talking about how the map looks a lot like Player Underground's map, kind of mashed together. The map is set in North California. They said that a second map may be available at some time. I don't know if it's going to be at launch or down the road. There will be no platform exclusive DLC with the Blackout mode. So PS4 or Xbox aren't going to have some sort of exclusive. I remember Xbox, they had exclusive on something a certain DLC for Black Ops for the last one or something like that, where it was a 3-month exclusive or something like that. Right,
it was a timed exclusive. It wasn't.
So they're not going to do that. There's no cross-play, but we're going to get into that later.
You saw they teased a little Nuketown area.
Yeah. They got Nuketown.
That was probably in the original Black Ops when I was the Nuketown stage. That's my best stage.
Yeah.
That was my to-go-to camping stage.
Well, the beta's coming up soon, and
this weekend, I think, for PS4.
This weekend already?
I think so.
Jeez,
I think for the PS4. I think
just
starts,
for PS4. Damn. Team Xbox.
I think Xbox is probably the week after. It releases October 12th, which is not that far away now.
It's coming up. Yeah. Everything's
that's okay. That's my for gaming. That's my one big beef about it is
we go through the dry spell and then we have
that's the thing. Like movies, obviously there's movie dry spells, but they're very small, right? They're like the end of the summer, which is kind of end of August, early September, there's a dry spell.
Yeah.
January to February is a little dry, right? But all in all, you're usually getting big movies pushed out throughout the year.
Yeah.
Television, yes, the summer, they don't have all the narrative stuff. But nowadays, with Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff, there's just so much stuff you can watch. Video games, on the hand, all the big stuff drops. So, we're going to have this game come out. We're going to have Odyssey come out.
Tomb Raider the embargo for next week. I got to do a review for next week.
Tomb Raider's coming out.
I'm playing Destiny 2
Red Dead's coming out. Fallout 76. All these big games are coming out in this. Spider-Man, you guys already played it. It's going to be out, by the time most people listen to this podcast.
Life is Strange 2 this month as well.
So
chill out.
They put everything there. I know why, because it's business. They want people to buy them for Christmas and
final season holidays. Of Telltale Walking Dead as well.
But because games take much longer time than, let's say, watching a movie, which is 2 hours, or even a television show, you can, if it's only 10 or 12 episodes, you can burn through those. A lot of these games are going to be, big, huge endeavors,
and you're investing more money in it too. If you go out and see, the next Marvel movie opening night in 3D IMAX, that's not going to cost as much as buying a copy of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking about that earlier. We literally had this conversation earlier. Somebody in the Twitch stream was like, "Are we going to cover such and such game?" It was like, we got Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There's only 3 people between us to review games, so we can only do so much.
I can't remember what they were talking about, but we just submitted to try and get codes so that we can review Odyssey. And I definitely want to give that time and energy, but I think that's going to be on you to do Odyssey.
I probably will, just because I'm huge into the Greek and Roman history. That I want to see what they do with it, and it just looks gorgeous too.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be playing.
And that means that he can focus on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I can focus on Forsaken, and then when Life is Strange comes out, I'll take that. And Red Dead, you can take that.
Well, I got Red Dead and Fallout at the same time.
You got.
But the only thing about Fallout though is I think we can all play that. It's because it's
and then Black Ops will be you.
Because Fallout's not a single player. They will have a single player component, but it's mainly just for multiplayer. Yeah. But then again, Black Ops is the same way.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to see a Dennis Fallout 76 stream.
Yeah, it'll be me on my couch having drinks right here, food right here.
The Fallout Zen out with Dennis Zen.
Yeah. Side note, Call of Duty's competitor, Battlefield, they have their Battle Royale mode. They officially named it Firestorm. So we got
Firestorm.
So we got Blackout from Call of Duty. Battlefield is called Firestorm.
And their open beta is going on right now. Yeah.
So let's transition into kind of some stuff we were talking about before, was the crossplay. So an Xbox executive responded to Sony's kind of position and their comments about crossplay. The executive said that Sony isn't listening to gamers about the crossplay situation, and that all games should be crossplay progression with the right input flexibility and gamer options. People pointed out to him that, Sony is number one in terms of PS4, so they obviously have a more financial reason not to. This executive, I think his name is Ibarra, Mike Ibarra, he's an engineering lead. He said that, if you count PC games, because the Xbox, a lot of the Xbox and PC games are cross-platform, that they actually have a very huge gameplay base. Microsoft has been teaming up with all the consoles to do crossplay, except for Sony, for Minecraft. They teamed up with Nintendo to do Fortnite. So what do you guys think? Is this, from a PR standpoint, it doesn't look good for Sony, but financially it does make sense why they don't do it. Do you think that eventually the PR kind of backlash for it is going to take over and they're going to succumb and play nice and cross-play with everyone else?
I think that... I think first of all, I think it's a little bit cheating to count PC install into the crossplay conversation, because PC has kind of always been separate from console, and Microsoft, yes, they're playing on your platform, but they're not playing through your software necessarily. They're playing through Steam. They're playing through other things. This is not your ecosystem. You have a big market share in making the essentially third-party hardware, but this is not your ecosystem. You don't get to claim that. And this is me speaking for PC gamers. I am not much of a PC gamer except for like Hearthstone. So please feel free to chime in if you feel like I'm speaking for you and speaking out of turn on that. I don't think that that's a fair comparison, and I think that Sony is doing so good with console exclusive games that are not necessarily multiplayer that they're starting to differentiate themselves in that way, and plenty of people want to play those. And if people have one more reason to buy a PS4 over buying an Xbox One, then that's what they're going to hold on to.
But at the same time, you have gamers who are interested in being able to, let's say, if they own multiple things, right?
Yeah.
They play on their Nintendo Switch, they play Fortnite, and then they want to be able to pick up their same, profile and account on their Xbox. Let's say they're on, they're playing mobilely, and then they can pick up on their Xbox.
I would say there's plenty of games where they absolutely can. They just can't cross-play them.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, I'm trying to think of a game that I know. I bring up Hearthstone, which is not exactly a console game, but I know that through mobile and PC you can cross-play, but the cross-play versus the save upload is not the same thing. And I think with Fortnite,
I didn't like playing with PC players on Fortnite when you were able to do that.
But you have your Epic account, and that's what your skins and stuff are tied to. That's what your rank is tied to.
Oh, it's not tied to your PlayStation?
I mean, I think if you logged on in mobile, you could get all your rank stuff back. That would show up.
Jeff, I've only played it on. I downloaded it recently on Xbox One, but I haven't played it on Xbox One. I've just played it on PS4 so far.
Yeah, I'll check in on that, but I don't think that that's the same thing as it's not tied to crossplay. Yeah. And I think that plenty of people run into the situation where they want to play with 6 people. 4 of those people have PS4s, and 2 of those people have Xboxes, and Xbox wants crossplay so that those 2 people don't go, oh, well, I guess I got to buy a PS4 to play with my friends.
Yeah.
Because PS4 has the larger install base. They have more, people.
Oh, I'm not saying they're doing it out of the kindness of their hearts.
Right, exactly.
But what I'm saying is that though developers want crossplay, because developers don't care. They just want you to play on any system possible, right?
Well, yeah, developers want two ecosystems that are the same to develop for.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation about development for VR with a developer, and they were talking about developing for the Oculus, the HTC Vive, and they were like, stop, don't even mention that. Developing for them is the same.
Yeah.
We change around a few buttons. It's PSVR. That's the tough one to develop for because you're in a completely different ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so if the 2 console ecosystems are more similar, regardless of whether they have crossplay or not, I think that's more what devs are going to want rather than... I mean, crossplay is interesting, but crossplay kind of forces that similar ecosystem. And so I think that's the ultimate goal.
Well, because, let's talk about what I'm thinking potentially right now. Look, I'm a huge Fallout fan. I'm going to play Fallout 76. I want to play with you guys. But now I can't play with you guys because I have an Xbox. Well, I can play with you.
Yeah, you can play with me. I got Xbox.
You don't have an Xbox.
I mean, this is the interesting situation.
You have PS4. Fernandez, he has an Xbox. You know what I mean? So now it's like, okay, now we can't have this like collider team, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like I want you to go out and spend money on an Xbox, but it'd be nice if like you could hop on your PS4 and play with me on my Xbox, you know? And it's like that's kind of where I'm missing, where I think Microsoft and Nintendo are right, whether or not it's financially motivated or not. As a player, I want crossplay. So
I agree with that. Yeah. I just don't like playing. I didn't like playing with PC players on Fortnite. I think that's cheating.
Yeah, I mean it's different because the play mechanics on a PC, what you can do with the mouse,
you can build like with one click, like a house around you with like 2 clicks. Yeah. And I have to struggle
you
there.
Hotkey everything.
I'm still
even like your pivoting with a mouse is much quicker than you can with a controller. You can just
well, that was the thing. That's the thing with every FPS. But when you add the build component of Fortnite,
makes it easy.
And you just see, you like watch Ninja stream, and he has like 10 hotkeys like underneath his fingers, so that he can just go build.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess that's done.
Yeah. In that regard, I can understand not wanting to play with PC players.
Yeah.
But in general, I'd like everything to be cross-play. I mean, in like Fallout 76, you're playing it's co-op, right? It's like you're supposed to be playing together against enemies, so you won't care as much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're straying a little bit into like other things that are close to this topic, but ultimately, I think that Microsoft can talk all they want about crossplay, because if they crossplay with mobile, the Xbox is always going to be better than anyone playing on mobile. If they crossplay with PC, that's a completely different comparison. Everyone is aware of the fact that PC is going to be better, and also, I was just saying that it's not their ecosystem, but they do have a bit of stake in that. They do have the ability to kind of like gain benefit from playing with both. If you put the two consoles against each other, there's gonna be constant conversation about which is better to play on. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if esports got to the point where it was like, yeah, you're playing on console, but you can choose which console you want to play on because it's crossplay?
Yeah, I think at that point it should be, in terms of esports, it should be with the same thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just a competitive mindset.
Yeah.
Like when you apply a competitive mindset to this and you start having the argument of like, yeah, you need the PS4 Pro because that's going to deliver 60 frames regardless of the resolution, because you don't need the resolution for this. You need the 60, that kind of
But
argument.
I mean, with the esports though, I mean, that's not going to apply. I mean, it's just such a
most things are PC
minute,
anyway. But
amount of people.
Just the competitive mindset. In general,
I'm just looking to have fun. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be.
I just want to have a good time.
I'm not trying to be the number one Fortnite player in the world. All right. One thing I did forget before we go is I forgot to ask you guys: Spider-Man, is it the best superhero video game of all time?
Yes.
Okay.
Defend it. Yes. Yeah. Easily.
Okay. Easily. So you're saying. It totally what does it do better than, let's say, the Arkham games? I would say Arkham games are probably high up there.
Yeah. First off, for you, which of the Arkham games is the best? Because for me, I think it's Arkham City.
I think Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight for you? Okay.
And Arkham City is your favorite one?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's partially just because I'm biased towards the Riddler, and he was stupid as shit in Arkham Knight.
But so what makes Spider-Man better than the Arcane games, in your opinion? Is it the story? Is it the gameplay? What ultimately does... Because I played some of the Arkham games, and there was a storyline, but it seemed like, at least at the point that I was playing, it seemed like it was more like small storylines that you kind of picked and choosed versus like a main storyline.
I think for me, I think it's mainly the story. The combat's kind of similar, so not that, but the story itself. And I'm personally a bigger Marvel fan than DC, and I can kind of see myself in Peter Parker, him, and especially him in college trying to still do the right thing and be good just all the time. So I think that's partly why I'm saying that. But overall, I think the story itself, just like we said, the character development from beginning to end is mind blowing to me, and it felt like I was watching a movie. So yeah, it's the story. It's the story really set it apart for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, it's the fact that like within the Arkham games, it feels like a lot of things are happening. Either things are happening to you, the player, or things are happening around Batman. This, like, with Spider-Man, things are not only happening to Spider-Man and to Peter, but he is reacting to them. He is changing with those things, and you see the struggle a lot more than, and I get they're two different characters. Like, you usually don't see that struggle as much with Batman, but Batman has kind of the same argument that I was making with Geralt and with with Master Chief, is that Batman's actually a really good character to be able to, not necessarily know what's going on in his mind and imprint yourself on a little bit so that you can be the badass. Spider-Man in this and Peter Parker in this, there were times where I wanted to like stop pressing buttons and like, especially in like QuickTime events, I wanted to just stop and watch because it was starting to become it was becoming a better story to watch than to play.
I felt like a better person after I finished the game. Like I felt like I grew up with I felt like I was a better person after I played the game.
Nice. All right. Well,
also they did my boy Miles. Like we finally got Miles Morales finally got some love, so that helps with it. I
will say they did not give us a villain better than Mark Hamill's Joker. They did not give us a villain better than he is in Arkham City or Arkham Knight or Arkham Asylum for that matter. Well, the boss battle at the end of Arkham Asylum is bullshit. It's bullshit. But the character of Peter Parker is the best part of the Spider-Man game, I think.
All right, well, after I played on one of your guys' system here at the office, I will also come back and let you guys know what I thought about it. All right, that wraps it up for this episode of Collider Games. I want to thank everyone here joining us. Joey, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joey Rasool, RASSOOL. Also, go out and check out our Twitch channel right now. It's called twitch.tv/Collider Video, but maybe we can also have a Collider Games one. Maybe we'll have just straight up Collider one. Right now, go up and sign up for Collider Video, and we'll be streaming some stuff soon, and we'll have more information on our Twitch rollout, as we progress.
Dorian?
You guys can find me at Dorian Parks and Rec on Twitter. Parks in Rec, because Parks and Rec is better than The Office. And then you can find me on Instagram at Dorian Parks. And make sure to follow us on Twitter, Collider Video, Collider Games, Collider Gaming on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You can find us all there.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram Dennis.tzng. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games. We have Collider Videos, Collider Sports. We have a bunch of cool stuff. Just check it out. Our podcast feed. If you want to listen to us, you can look up the Collider Podcast Network and download all that good stuff. So we'll see you guys next time.